That is, the recording started. Put up a poll this morning to find out what people wanted to hear, and apparently you want to talk about AMDX cycles and you want to talk about the defining range. This is going to be an introduction from me, even though you've probably been focused on it the entirety of this week. When it comes to AMDX cycles, there exists in public two variants to the cycle. You have AMDX and you have XAMD. And that is all the public knows about. That is all we care to tell them. Is there more? Maybe. You're not going to find out today. As is typical of what I do, I'll start with a few definitions and then we'll take it from there. The central bankers dealing range, CBDR, I can't remember the exact name, but it is defined as the latter 2/3 of Q4 and the former 1/3 of Q1. The defining range is essentially a fractalized Asian range. The Asian range is the latter 2/3 of Q1. These are settings for the Fib time zone that you will require to be able to plot these things on a chart. You will need both of them. Label this one AMDX. Label this one AMD. I'm going to remove all these drawings now. So let's start with quarters. We have, by definition, 4 quarters. Therefore, if you're going to break something into quarters, there's only going to be 4 parts. Each one of these is defined in time based on the CME hours. You have Q1 that starts at 6 p.m. You have Q2 that starts at midnight. You have Q3 that starts at 6 a.m. And you have Q4 that starts at 12 p.m. This is the daily cycle. Moving up one, you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday forming the weekly cycle. On the monthly cycle, you have week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. Week 1 must start on a Monday. You can go lower down than this. However, I don't recommend it until you're able to sprint. Prior to being able to sprint, there is absolutely no point in you attempting to go lower than the 15-minute time frame. In having 4 quarters, by saying that we have two variants, AMDX and XAMD, all we are saying is this could be accumulation or reversal or continuation. We've covered accumulation in the last 101. If this is accumulation, then this is going to be manipulation, this is going to be distribution, and this is either going to be a reversal or continuation. If this is continuation or a reversal, then this is going to be accumulation, this is going to be manipulation, and this is going to be distribution. On the daily cycle, this being 6 o'clock and this being midnight, we have the true day open. Therefore, if you go up to a weekly cycle, to a monthly cycle, or down to a 90-minute cycle, and you're dealing with XAMD, people want to argue that this becomes the true open. This is not the case. The definition of the true open is the opening price of Q2, and that will not change. When you want to try and trade the distribution in an AMDX, you're trading Q3. In the chance that it is an XAMD, you want to avoid trading accumulation, and therefore the highest probability trades exist here, because this says New York is either going to distribute or manipulate. For now, you only have AMDX and XAMD. We defined the CBDR as 1/3 of this and 2/3 of this. The defining range is essentially a fractalized Asian range. And it's not the whole of the quarter. Instead, it is the latter 2/3. Why do we need the defining range? Because with the defining range, you are able to, this is the daily time frame. This is, let me just line it up with something. Let me go to the 4-hour time frame. Let me instead use an entire month. Obviously, I'm going to use hindsight price action because that's all I do. I don't forecast shit into the future. I don't tell you where price is going to be and at what time. I use hindsight price action to explain concepts because that's what I'm good at. AMDX, so this is the month of December. This is Q1 of December. This is therefore the defining range, which is the latter 2/3 of Q1. Pulling a fib, blimey, that's not going to work. Pulling a fib onto the defining range will see price attempt to get to between 1 and 1.5 in that cycle. 1 to 1.5 standard deviations of the defining range in that cycle, or one after. That is really everything there is about the defining range and AMDX cycles. What you need to do is you need to go back onto your charts down to the 15-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, plot the quarters, plot the defining range, and measure them with the standard deviations. This will train you to know when to use, how to use, and what to expect. Doing this about 100 to 200 times, and shouldn't take you more than a couple of hours, will show you how you can use the defining range to project price into the future. Once you're comfortable doing it manually, the indicator that I have published is available to you, and that will plot the defining range up to the weekly cycle automatically. Any questions? Any questions at all? The question is, can this be used on all assets? Yes, they can. All assets, all timeframes. I will not be speaking on the true opens. The true open is the opening price of Q2. That's all I'll say for now. The more assets you do something on, the more confused you're going to be. Stick to one asset unless you're learning from somebody who requires you to use all assets. Stick to one, specialize in one. The question being, to backtest this, we do on one asset. Yes, you do it on one asset. This works on every single time frame. What conditions you require to use it, that depends on you. 30 more seconds for any questions. Not as far as I'm aware of. There are no limitations to the use of the defining range. The question being, are there certain conditions to measure this, such as minimum number of pips or the maximum? In between 1 to 1.5 standard deviations of second and third quarter of Q1 is DFR. No, it is not. Please go and watch this video again when you're not working to understand what the defining range is. Idiots will continue to be idiots until they are no longer idiots. The defining range is an essential tool to consider the trade. It is an essential tool to consider whether the trade is going to stretch to your target or not. Somebody is typing, well, two people are typing. Once I get these questions from Heisenberg and Philip, I will stop the recording and end the session. Heisenberg says your call on the shorts in the previous morning session was impressive. Doesn't matter. Don't care. Don't give a fuck. No difference. Philip is still typing. Probably a very long question. Imagine coming to listen to a video on the defining range and all you get is Philip is typing. Do we spot cracking correlation if we're looking at the DFR? For example, SMT is created above DFR high and one asset close above DFR high, the other close below DFR high. Does this show us something? You should go and backtest that. These are the things you're looking for when you are backtesting, because no matter what I say, you are not going to believe me, because at the center of your mind is a skeptic. You should believe your own data and nothing else. Either you're going to not believe me, or the other extreme, you're going to say, medic said this, therefore, fuck off. Test your own, get your own data, believe your data and nothing else. The typical idiot just typed in the chat. All right. I guess that's it. I will stop the recording.